Happy Monday, everyone. I am AnnaLee Dragon, the director of the Kinderhook Memorial Library, and I am back this week with another book talk for you. This week we're going to focus on the most recent issue of BookPage from January. So there it is. And I thought it would be really fun to just look through some of the stuff that they are recommending that's coming out, and we can talk about some fiction and some nonfiction. I have ordered a bunch of new stuff and I keep waiting to do an unboxing, but the supply chain issues are really getting us here. So it's just taking longer for stuff to come in than it usually does. And so instead, I thought we'll just look at some new books that are coming out that we are going to purchase that will be in the system. And some of them already may well be. And then you can start ordering and borrowing and getting ready to read some new stuff. So let's get started. I'm gonna put up a cover of a book and then I'll talk about it and yada yada until the end. I'll put all the book covers again. All of these are in the January issue of BookPage, which we have some copies of left at the library. And if you've never looked at BookPage, I use it a lot to purchase because a lot of people here read it, and it's a really fantastic resource full of fun reviews. And they've got everything: audiobooks, fiction, nonfiction, young adult, children's, all of it. So if you haven't checked it out, come check out an issue either this month or soon. Okay, so let's get started with our BookPage talk. As you saw there, the first title we're going to talk about is What the Fireflies Knew by Kai Harris. So this is really cool because this is from a new publishing imprint launched by Phoebe Robinson. It's called Reparation Books, Tiny Reparation Books, sorry. And its first fiction title is this one, and it's coming out in February. So it says it's a debut novel, Kai Harris's first novel, that unfolds from the perspective of an 11-year-old girl who, after her father dies and mother disappears, spends a life-changing summer with her sister and estranged grandfather. Harris's artist statement is uplifting, healing energy, which is always what I'm here for. It says that the author's goal is to write something or some things that matter. She wants her words to be a safe space, a retreat, a giant bowl of comfort food, and she wants there to be truth and light, trauma and joy. So it's kind of all the things book about life, which I think is wonderful. And this one, one of the things that caught my eye about this one as an anticipated book is that it says it's The Secret Life of Bees. I don't love calling something the new something else because, that suggests a lot of, I don't know, influence that I don't know is fair, but I think that so many people loved The Secret Life of Bees. It was a real phenom, and about Black girlhood. And so I think that that's what they're saying is similar, and it's getting great reviews, and it's really highly anticipated. So I am hoping that you will want to check out What the Fireflies Knew by Kai Harris when it comes out. So you could put that on your holds list now. Okay, next book. Okay, so switching to some romance, some rom-com, which I have talked about some recently, and we are coming up on February and Valentine's Day and all things love and romance, so I thought it would be fun to mention a romance, of course. Delilah Green Doesn't Care by Ashley Herring Blake. It says the cover is, classic, one of these rom-com novels. They have a lot in common, all of the cover art. It's kind of cartoony, has some awesome looking women on it. It just looks fantastic. And so I can kind of pick them off the shelf, which I enjoy because it makes it easier to find them. It says that even if you're not a fan of small town romances, especially if you're not a fan of small town romances, you'll want to make an exception for Ashley Herring Blake's take on the subgenre. Through telling details and character-revealing grace notes, Blake engenders empathy for the titular photographer who fled Bright Falls, Oregon after a lonely childhood. Claire, Delilah's crush from her teenage years, who stayed in town and is now a bookseller and single mother, love a bookseller in a story, and practically everyone in their orbit. Blake's Bright Falls isn't a tiny utopia, and there are no contrived plots or broad characterizations. It's just a town like any other, full of people who are both victim and victimizer, both cruel and kind, all depending on the kind of light you view them in. So I just thought this sounded like fun and light and some romance and some small town stuff, which, being in Kinderhook, we know a little something about small towns. So I don't know, it sounded like a very upbeat, fun kind of read. Delilah Green Doesn't Care by Ashley Herring Blake. It's definitely going to be on my to-read list. Okay, next book. So in the spirit of kind of a new year and jumping around some, I'm not going to just do fiction and then nonfiction. The next book I want to talk to you about is a memoir. It's called Free, A Child and a Country at the End of History by Leah. And it says in here that, this reviewer says that they don't read all of a lot of books. They get a couple chapters in and then they skip to something else. But it said that within 4 pages of this book, I desperately wanted to make an exception. So it says that the author grew up in communist Albania, and her debut memoir chronicles the year her country's identity began to shift, and the personal and political fallout that rattled the rest of her adolescence. That's what I meant to say. It's early, folks. The writing is crisp, surprising, and funny, which is always something to be said in a memoir that's about tough things. I think if somebody can find humor in those things and do it correctly, it's a lovely thing to see. It says the ruminations on freedom are stimulating and provocative, and that the tone is exactly dry enough to temper the narrator's naive childhood perspective. I reluctantly sent my last copy to a reviewer, but at least now I have an excuse to visit a bookstore when Free is published at the end of January. So if you are a memoir fan, which I know we have a lot of, this sounds like a fantastic memoir, but also a piece of history that maybe we don't all know that much about, including myself. I don't know much about Albania. And so I'm interested on a number of levels in reading this story. Also, just such a ringing review from a book reviewer is always a good sign. So Free, A Child and a Country at the End of History. Okay, next book. I can't not give a shout out to a local celebrity author of our own here in Kinderhook. Snails and Monkey Tales is out by Michael Arndt, who is a local author from here. He lives in the city now, but he's from here. And he's written some really fantastic books. He's a graphic designer, so the images are always really beautiful. We talked about minimal New York City not that long ago on one of my book talks. And so now he's out with Snails and Monkey Tales. It says, speaking of details, it's an interesting time for punctuation, isn't it? Texting has completely upended the rules such that a period now suggests a hostile vibe to some. This person's teenager confirms that. And even the meaning of certain emoticons seems to be shifting with the generations. But these symbols persist in print matter, and they are lovingly and fetchingly celebrated in Snails and Monkey Tales. Graphic designer Michael Arndt's spiffy salute to the tiny designs that run interference among the letter forms. If you don't know what a Grawlix is, you'll want to read this book. Afterward, you may never call an @ symbol an @ symbol again. Rather, try little duck as they do in Finland, or cinnamon bun, like the Swedes. From Silicrows to Pilcrows to Guillemets and the Dinkus, Art's book will up your word nerd quotient and will do so with impeccable style. As an English literature major, a former editor, and a librarian, I have a love of all things word nerdy. And so this book speaks to me immediately. I got to see previews of it from Michael myself. It's beautiful, it's informative, it's all of the things. So if you are a person who really geeks out over literature and the written language and the written word, I think this book is going to be an awesome one for you to pick up. So it is on its way here, like I said, supply chain issues, but it's going to be in the system, and so you'll be able to get a copy from us or go buy one at your local bookseller. Either way, Snails and Monkey Tales by Michael Arndt. Okay, next book. Our next book, Find Me, is by Alafair Burke, a pretty well-known mystery thriller writer. And so the new book is called Find Me, and it's about 3 women who take center stage in this latest thriller. NYPD Detective Ellie Hatcher, attorney Lindsay Kelly, and amnesiac Hope Miller, who remembers nothing of her life prior to a devastating car crash she survived 15 years ago. Or so she says. Now, sans identity or history, Hope works under the radar for a real estate agent, getting paid under the table to stage houses for prospective buyers. Then, as often happens in novels about amnesiacs, a random aha moment triggers a memory, and we're off to the races. So if you are looking for a fast-paced thriller kind of new book to start the year, lots of people love these, Find Me by Alafair Burke. I am having trouble with my words this morning. Looks like an excellent story, and they say it has masterful control over pacing and plot reveals and will make readers just as anxious to uncover the truth. So that's the kind of book I love too, because I can't put it down, and especially where my attention span is suffering a little during the pandemic, these kind of books are always a cure for that because you just can't stop reading, got to get through it. So Find Me by Alafair Burke. Okay, next book. Joanne Harris, A Narrow Door, is the next one I wanted to talk about, and it's called Darkly Humorous and Deliciously Evil. Has a great cover. Joanne Harris, I believe, is the one who wrote Chocolat, which I loved. And I think that this is the next in that, and I don't think it's not a series, so it's a standalone novel, but it's her next new book out, and I am excited to read it. It got a starred review in Booklist, which is a big deal. So that means it got excellent, it's the best of the best that's in this issue. It says it's a quintessential and unputdownable English mystery. Rebecca Buckfast, headmistress of a noted Yorkshire boarding school, St. Oswald's, and one of the first-person narrators of this tale, is nothing if not straightforward. She recounts the steps she had to take to become the first female head of the school in its 500-year history. And Rebecca doesn't sugarcoat anything, including the 2 murders she committed, one a crime of passion, the other a crime of convenience. And yet it is difficult to not respect her motivations and even like her. Anybody who can write a murderer that we're then cheering for, I feel like is doing a great job at writing. It says that as the stories unfold, there's 2 different narrators, Rebecca and Roy. Both of the narrators take satisfaction in the secrets they're hiding from each other, or more precisely, the secrets they think they are successfully concealing. A Narrow Door is an exceptionally good novel, a masterpiece of storytelling that when Rebecca likens herself to a modern-day Scheherazade, it doesn't feel like hyperbole in the slightest. Huge reviews, fantastic author that I already like, good mystery, and it's British, so for all of you Anglophiles out there, and I know there are a lot of you in Kinderhook, Joanne Harris's A Narrow Door may be a great next read for you. I've got one more for you this week. We're ending on a nonfiction note this week with The Power of Fun, How to Feel Alive Again by Katherine Price. And I'm excited about this one because it says it's your New Year's prescription, just add fun. We could all use some of that after the couple years that we have had. It has been a very hard time, and I feel like this sort of book is popular science, which we get a lot of here at the library and a lot of people enjoy reading, including myself. And she is telling you to stop scrolling, put down your phone, and play. So when life handed the world lemons in the form of a global pandemic, Katherine Price found a way to make lemonade. She began researching and writing a book that would help readers define, prioritize, and add more fun to their lives. For anyone hoping to make 2022 a banner year, and who isn't, The Power of Fun, How to Feel Alive Again provides the perfect jumpstart. Instead of trying to corral the willpower and restraint that's key to so many self-improvement plans, Price prioritizes fun, a strategy she compares to going on a diet that requires you to eat more foods you love. So I love that it's about focusing on some positive, that it's about a plan, but also one that isn't just grueling in its improvement of you, but more things that you enjoy. And so it's a wonderful opportunity to set a good tone for the new year by doing things that make us happier. I wholly endorse that and plan to add this book to my to-read list. The Power of Fun by Katherine Price. So that's all I have for you this week. I hope you'll come in and pick up a book page. There's lots of other great titles in here I didn't get to talk about today, and start adding holds. And like I said, I've got new stuff coming. It's just taking a little longer to get here than usual, but that's okay. We've got lots of books, as you can see, already here and in the system. And so I'm sure we can find you your next great read. If there's anything we can do for you, let us know. Otherwise, check the newsletter, see our events that are going on, tune in for book talks, and I will be back in a few weeks. Thank you so much for watching and checking out books and coming to see us, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye, everyone.